How does one create history? By beginnings? Wars? Innovation? Success? In over 200 pages, explore 50 years of WWE's historical reign in sports entertainment. WWE 50. Available March 31st. Pre-order now online or wherever books are sold.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Harley Race.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
This is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Morati, joined by the man that redefined fabulous in the Webster's Dictionary, the one and only Mr. John Cena Sr. Johnny, how are you today?
Always a pleasure, Dan. Always a pleasure to be here with you, the man that is MWF.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't want to take credit away from those hardworking individuals that really make things run, but that is a different story for a different time. Here in the Insiders, Johnny, SummerSlam 2014, it's in the books. What a big event.
Was huge, absolutely huge. Surprising, very surprising, but nevertheless, another great WWE event.
They promoted it the biggest fight in the summer, and I believe the main event lived up to that definition. It was a fight for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship with Brock Lesnar now as the new champion, for someone that may not know. What did you think watching that brutality, Johnny?
I think that Cena was not ready for Lesnar. There was a whole new Lesnar there. There was a beast behind Lesnar that Lesnar had not yet let out. The one thing I think people really need to understand is that he beat Lesnar several times before, and he beat him before this. My prediction is he took a beating, 16 German suplexes. If I were Brock Lesnar, Night of Champions, I certainly would keep my eyes open.
You think John Cena will regain the championship in Nashville on September the 21st?
I didn't say that. I think that John Cena's quote was, I haven't come for the championship, I've come to beat Brock Lesnar's ass. So whether he walks out with the belt or not is irrelevant. It's irrelevant to me, and I think it's irrelevant to some other people. My goal, his goal, I would think at this point, is to beat Brock Lesnar's ass. And while he's at it, if I were there, I'd be kicking Paul Heyman's ass.
I'd like to see the two of you handcuffed to each other at ringside. I think that would make for an even more memorable matchup.
Mr. Mouth Paul Heyman and myself undoubtedly would be the best of the best. Heyman, nothing but respect, brother, but I think he's overboard at this point.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of build-up towards Night of Champions. This upcoming Raw against the debut of the NFL Monday Night Football this week has got Roman Reigns clashing with Randy Orton, Chris Jericho against Bray Wyatt inside a steel cage. Jerry Springer is coming to Monday Night Raw as well.
Joke. What a joke. Is this professional wrestling, or is this let's make it whoopee? I am not happy when I see these types of scenarios and situations. Jerry Springer is coming to WWE Raw for a family thing with the Bella Twins. What the hell does that have to do with professional wrestling?
Did you see Raw this past week?
When Brie got slapped by her sister, where there was this little confrontation?
Well, this week it was the sit-down shoot interviews growing up Bella. And they were, I mean, WWE cannot hit a home run with every TV show. They have 52 Raws a year, 52 SmackDowns a year, 12 pay-per-views a year. They have the main event every week. I mean, they have a lot of content to fill. But this was one of the worst Raws I've seen. They didn't have 3 hours of material this week.
Then fill it with professional wrestling. Jerry Springer has no place in a professional wrestling ring or show with his made-up, fake Jerry Springer bullshit.
Johnny, that's heat, brother.
You know what? When I get disgusted and I get upset, I really come across sometimes as maybe overboard, but I'm not happy about this situation. Why not take the time and stack the card? Why not bring in professional wrestling? Why not give the fans what they want? Who wants to see Jerry Springer with Bella and Bree trying to resolve a family issue of why Bree and Bella are not getting along, while the Bella twins can't make it, why Nikki Bella and Bree Bella are no longer sisters? Jerry Springer is not a psychologist. Jerry Springer is just someone who looks to take advantage of people's situations. WWE, greatest product in the world. Vince McMahon, one of the greatest minds of professional wrestling. Whoever thought this one up, and it has to be the writers, I'll tell you what, from me to you, I'm going to get in trouble for this one. It ain't enough to make me turn into Raw.
Do you think people even have an interest in seeing the sisters go at it like this?
I think that the storyline is good. I think that when you see brother against brother, sister against sister, it builds up a little bit of energy and antagonistic rivalry. But eventually what happens is the siblings eventually come back. One realizes they made a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. But in the meantime, if it's written correctly, and if it's done correctly, you have a great storyline that could really play into something really, really big here. But Jerry Springer, Nikki and Bree, Dan, please. I said it before, I'll say it again. I am going to get into trouble for this. I'm sure I'll get a phone call.
You're a human being with an opinion. How can you get into trouble?
It's not enough to make me tune into Raw. If I were going up against the NFL, I certainly wouldn't waste my time with Jerry Springer.
Well, they tried to get the NFL player Michael Sam to make a guest appearance, but he seems to be close to signing with, I believe, the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I have a question about that. What happened to Darren Young?
He's injured.
I understand that, but why would you bring in this individual because he's the first coming out of the closet gay football player? Is that why he's being brought in? What's the name of the game here?
I think it's to try and attract a casual viewer.
Well, you know what? No offense again, but it's not enough to make me tune into Raw.
You wouldn't be
Chris
interested?
Jericho and Bray Wyatt in a steel cage? I'm interested in that. Definitely interested in that. Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, John Cena. I think there's going to be some real good stuff coming down on that Monday night. Definitely interested in that. Jerry Springer, the man who's going to sign with the Cowboys. Woo. That's how interested I am in that.
Well,
and I'm not alone. I'll bet you if you poll the fans, if you poll the true wrestling fans, I would like to see their response regarding what they're doing right now.
we can make that happen. How would you like the question posed?
Why don't we pose it up? Fans, what do you think of Jerry Springer on Raw with the Bella twins? Favorable, unfavorable? What do you think about Sam? Favorable or unfavorable? Let's see how the fans really feel. You know, WWE seems to be worried about their product. I don't think they have anything to worry about, personally. I think they have the best product on television right now. Except, and I use that exception, I don't know who the writers are that came up with this one. But you know what? Have another cup of coffee, open your eyes, take a look at professional wrestling, and let's bring what fans want to the forefront. And that, my friends, is good old-fashioned wrestling.
Well, as we mentioned moments ago, WWE, over the course of each and every year, they present a very solid quality product. I mean, the production values, I don't think, get enough credit for what they do on a live event basis, week after week after week. But to me, the biggest issue, and this is again just my opinion, you look back at what now some fans consider to be something a little old school, the Monday Night Wars. You never knew what to expect. It made it exciting. It made it fresh. Do you ever have that feeling with WWE nowadays? That I don't know what to expect?
No, because what's happened is, and I don't know why they've done this or the writers have done this, the predictability is there. I mean,
everyone's on TV every week now with the exception of Brock Lesnar, and you know an Undertaker's going to come back.
Yeah, and I think that can work against an individual, and it can work against the product. It's the same thing of ice cream. I'll give you chocolate, that's your favorite ice cream, but you can only have it once a month. So when you get it, you really enjoy it. And I think it's the same thing with professional wrestling. You know, Brock Lesnar is the champion now. Whether he remains champion after Night of Champions is another story. Who will take out Lesnar in the end? Certainly not Roman Reigns, I hope. Certainly not Daniel Bryan. I mean, that would just really, and Daniel is a good friend, as you know, but Daniel Bryan taking out Brock Lesnar, David and Goliath, put Rey Mysterio up against him, might as well be the same thing. Here's a beast. Roman Reigns, great young man, great future, more grooming, maybe WrestleMania 32.
I know, we discussed this before. You think WrestleMania 32 is the time to make Roman Reigns shine and give him his big moment with the WWE Championship?
And I still think that there's plenty of room to bring these stars to the top and move back some of the top stars.
But see, I don't disagree with you completely, but based upon the model they have right now they're working with, they just don't have enough to feed him from now until WrestleMania 32 without pulling the trigger. Yeah, let me throw this one out at you. Since they're big in they like to claim they're not a wrestling company anymore, they're a TV company. What about going the route of television shows to keep their programs fresh with different characters? Why not bring out so many of the great athletes that have been with WWE before and have been released, that maybe have never competed in WWE before, that may have been from TNA, and bring them in on a recurring basis as needed? Or just a television contract with it's for a much smaller downside guarantee. They're only guaranteed to be booked for a TV show each week, and the more they work, the more they make. It would be a low-cost option where if it's a low downside guarantee, and the upside is you have more fresh talent, quality bodies on TV to work with the same Big 12 that you see every week that you get tired of seeing every week compete against each other.
I wouldn't dispute that. I think that's a great suggestion and a great idea. Whether that'll ever happen or not is another story. I think that those top 12, I think that some of those people in that top echelons are really willing to take a step back. But when they take a step back, you know, you hear all these complaints about this one, that one, the Super Cena, Super Marathi, Super... Roman Reigns has one move, the Superman punch. The Superman punch. I mean, yeah, the spear is cool. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm probably in a defense mode right now, but you know what? What's the difference between he and the one they're complaining about? They're both Supermen. So you know what? Maybe one doesn't have long hair and a beard, and the other one doesn't have whatever it is he doesn't have or she doesn't have. You know, I think that they're in the right mode, the right movement. I think people are ready to step back. I think people want to step back. I think that you cannot rush a product. You can't take talent and immediately bring them to the surface. It doesn't work. I said that the last show, I'll say it again. I think the Shield should have stayed together another 6 months. I think that when they finally separated, it would have been time to give them that grooming period they needed. And then, maybe at WrestleMania 31, you put these individuals in against other top name stars. But Lesnar needs to be taken out by somebody that nobody would ever expect another beast to take out the beast. And that might be a Rusev, that might be a Mark Henry. Yeah, but you're flinching your eye, but you know what? Those are tried and true. Why put somebody in a position where they could possibly crash and burn? Why not at least get somebody in there? I mean, you've got to have a match that people want to see. Would even be nice to see The Undertaker go for the belt and this time reverse it and take the belt himself and have one last run. Fans would pay big money to see that.
I agree with that. That's a thought that's gone through my mind. What about Randy Orton? They've never had a feud on television.
With Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton?
Correct.
I like Orton's style. I don't think Orton possesses the physique. I don't think he possesses I guess Orton is a good selection. Wouldn't be my selection. I personally have worked with Mr. Orton. I guess the way Orton could do this is work from a snake's standpoint, a deceptive side rather than, and have the authority, go against Paul Heyman, which would, and maybe even in essence, make Brock Lesnar a face. Because now they hate Stephanie, they hate Triple H, they don't like Randy Orton. So your proposal is 2 heels. We're going to go at it.
I think when you're looking at it from that point, you have Orton as the heel and Lesnar as the outsider, because that's really been how he's been positioned the whole time. He's not there to play fan favorite bad guy. He's there just to come in, kick ass, and win.
Lesnar is
a mercenary type role.
Lesnar is the mercenary, the bad guy, the guy that comes in for the money and leaves. That's the way it works. He's the guy you hire to come in, kill, destroy, and then get the hell out. So my whole thing is, I would think that I'd really, really take a close look on how I want to handle this, and how I really want to bring an end to the Brock Lesnar reign, if they're going to bring it into the Brock Lesnar reign. He could go on for another year into 2015. I like the idea of not having the champion on TV every week. I think that's a plus.
Very much so.
I think that's a plus. I think that if they had done that with the other champion or champions, I think it would put more prestige back into the belt. Unfortunately, they need to fill the gap. And what do? You have to put that person or persons every week on television. I think that they need to start bringing the younger talent up, which is what they're doing, and start giving them a little bit more competition. I would start feeding Roman Reigns to Brock Lesnar now. I would at least give him the test. I would at least see Lesnar destroy him, or partially destroy him. I'd keep Lesnar off TV for a month and a half after the destruction by Brock Lesnar, which I think they should have done with John Cena. I think Cena should have been off of TV for 3 or 4 weeks.
But the question, who would you put Lesnar in the ring with the Night of Champions then, if John was held out?
Night of Champions is not.
This is a very important pay-per-view for them, because remember, this is the end of the 6 months for the folks that signed up back in February or March. So if they don't want to renew, WWE needs to feed them something to keep that $9.99 a month rolling in.
But what you're saying to me is all these internet geniuses who are yelling Cena sucks, Cena's no good, what you just said to me is there's nobody else to put up against Brock Lesnar. And that's what you just said to me. Is that right?
Well, I'm asking you, who?
Well, but is that what you just said?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so why don't all these internet wrestling community geniuses come up with the Brock Lesnar match for Night of Champions? Who are you going to put in there? Who are you going to put in there to work Brock Lesnar? Who do you have? Who would you put in?
Well, I mentioned a few. Randy Orton, I think, is someone that,
and they're tired of Orton with the belt. They're tired of Orton. Very true.
What, in a perfect world, to me, I would have held off on the rematch until Survivor Series. But that's not how sports entertainment wrestling is presented today. It's quick, 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 quick. But the problem with that is, like I mentioned earlier, it becomes very stale at times. And when you have a 3-hour live Raw to produce every week, a 2-hour SmackDown, an hour-long main event, I think the Superstars program still airs on WWE.com. The weeks they have pay-per-views, they're trying to fill 10 hours of original television each week.
Well, one thing I'm going to say, and again, I'll probably get my ass kicked for this one too, but 3 hours is too long.
Yes.
You don't have 3 hours of wrestling. I don't need an hour and a half of promos. I need professional wrestling. And I think that's what the general public is after. I would rather see you go back to 2 hours, produce, and not that you don't have a quality product now, but produce that exceptional quality product dealing with professional wrestling and interim promos. People look at me and they go, you're too old. You're going back to the old days. I remember the old days where they would interview Bobo Brazil and his opponent. They'd have a little knockdown, drag out, 2-minute, 3-minute interview, back to wrestling, 3 matches. You were entertained. I understand that today it's storyline. But I think you've got to give a lot of thought to how you capitalize on the story you've just created to bring it to an end. I hate to agree with you, but Survivor Series, that would be nice to culminate a new championship match there rather than Night of Champions. Who would you put in to fight Brock Lesnar? Orton? Look, Orton and I have had our differences. Outstanding athlete, understands this business just like his dad did. He's a great professional athlete. He's got some great talent. Daniel Bryan were healthy. Maybe you put Bryan in there.
See, maybe it's just me, but I don't see that as a match that makes me want to go. Let me go out of my way to see it.
The bad part about this is if you put a Daniel Bryan against the Beast, it becomes unbelievable. It really says to you, wrestling's fake. You know, who else would you put in there? So you take a guy like Rusev, who is the same size as Brock Lesnar, who's been plowing down the talent, who's been just running over everyone. Put him in the ring for Night of Champions. Cena would still be injured, unable to compete. Don't initiate the clause yet. Because I'll tell you what, here's my plan for Night of Champions. And you can tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
I'll give you an honest response.
You always have, and I appreciate that. I say Cena beats Brock Lesnar. And I say Rollins cashes in. Now we begin the feud between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins.
No, I don't like it.
I'm telling you.
The point is, you have such a huge investment in Brock Lesnar. You have to go all the way with him. You have to go all the way with him.
Maybe
this is like UFC in a movie. You have the chance to be able to control what this man does, as opposed to seeing an how can I put it with showing respect to our great industry. Calling a spade, without having a shoot finish out of the air. This is the way you're writing the script to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. What are you going to do with Lesnar, show by show, month to month, or however often he's going to be around? Take the belt off him right away is a slap in the face to what they did with Undertaker's streak, a slap in the face to that very memorable match that he had with John at SummerSlam.
I agree, and I'll tell you this, the streak never should have ended.
No.
That's the first mistake they made, in my opinion. That never, ever, ever should have happened. That streak should have been continued. I think that The Undertaker should have won the belt. I think he should have had one more run, and he couldn't do every TV show, which should have been the Brock Lesnar type setup you're talking about. Make that one run when he decided it was enough, and then you bring in your new champion. Brock Lesnar is a friend. He's a decent human being, but Brock Lesnar truly, inside the ring and outside the ring, I don't think I'd want to cross Brock Lesnar. And what do you do with the guy?
Did I ever tell you the story about the time he almost decapitated me? It was
too bad he failed.
Well, I won't get into the whole story, but WrestleMania 20 weekend, I was trying to go into the hotel, and him and his wife, Rena Mero, were coming out, and there were, autograph fans and so on running around, and he hit the door. He hit the, what do you call one of those?
Revolving door?
There you go. Boom, to the back, and boom, bump into the one in front of me. She was nice enough to apologize, but I'll tell you the whole thing sometime. We have a little bit more time.
Brock is, he's just a tough man, and what you see in the ring, I tell you, he's hard man.
He's the greatest attraction right now in sports entertainment. We'll see. Right now, we're going to take a brief timeout, fans. When we come back, we'll have more on the Insiders.
You already know Kowloon Restaurant, established in 1950 and spanning 4 generations, serves a multi-Asian menu. Did you also know that Kowloon Restaurant is New England's premier Asian dining and entertainment complex, serving Cantonese, Szechuan, Thai, and Polynesian cuisine? And did you know that Kowloon Restaurant is also the home of the finest Japanese sushi? If you haven't dined at Kowloon Restaurant lately, then you simply haven't dined at Kowloon. Kowloon Restaurant, Route 1 North in Saugus.
Wrestling fans, welcome back. Wrestling Insiders, I'm Dan Maratti, along with Mr. Cena himself, El Presidente. Speaking of Mexican, Spanish, so on and so forth, what about the situation with the former WWE champion, Alberto Del Rio?
Del Rio has been cleared to wrestle by now. He is finished. He's proven through his attorneys, he's proven through law that you cannot restrict a man from working. So he's cleared to wrestle. Whether he's cleared to wrestle in the United States or not is another story, but I know that he has been cleared to wrestle in Mexico. So Alberto Del Rio, you know, that's a very unique situation. It's a very touchy subject with me, only because being of Italian descent, 100%, and I know how minorities are sometimes not treated the same way as other people. I know when I was in school, I was bullied around because, you know, my folks were Italian and I was Italian and all we were good for was this, and we were called those names that you don't use for Italians or Jews or Irish. I think it's unfortunate that Del Rio, a professional, lost his cool. I think it's good that Del Rio did what he did because he stood up for what he believed in. And by doing that, it cost him his position with the WWE. The word on the internet, all the geniuses seem to think that Del Rio was not going to renew his contract anyway. And so this was the culmination of, let's get rid of him now. I think that's a mistake. I think Del Rio was a great athlete. He was a great performer, a great human being, always treated me with respect. The same here for him. But WWE has their reasons. The unfortunate part is the individual that caused the situation is still there.
See, now I have to look at it from two ways. As far as Del Rio goes, the character, I thought it was terrible. The character failed at every attempt they had to push it, whether it was a heel, then babyface, then heel again. He just never got over and he was stuck in the mid-card mix. Aside from my thoughts on the Alberto Del Rio character, for the human being to be insulted like that by an employee of a publicly traded company, I would say if you're going to fire one, you'd have to get rid of both.
Well, I never thought the way to handle this would not be dismissal. I think it would be suspension.
And on top of that, I'll say this. It would have been nice to have this happen in a day when wrestling took care of wrestling issues. But you can't have that in a publicly traded company. Because that guy back in, even not too long ago in the past, would have had his ass kicked.
It would have been over and done with. And I would concur with you, except that I think that when they took Rodriguez away from Del Rio,
without a doubt,
when they gave him the stopping of the cars, when he played El Patron, as the character he's doing now, when he was that rich, arrogant Spanish individual, he was over. Then they take away Rodriguez, they take away the cars, they take away the arrogance, and they destroy the character.
They should have never turned him babyface.
I think that was a huge mistake. But, you know, when you present professional wrestling, and you and I are involved in it from both sides, writing, whatever, and performing in it, in my case, as well, you think you make the right decision. The trouble is, once you make that decision, you either go or you don't go. You made a comment that Lesnar is the biggest thing in professional wrestling right now. He is until something else comes along. Until something else comes along. Brock Lesnar, part-timer. Brock Lesnar comes in for the money. Brock Lesnar will job. Brock Lesnar will do whatever you need to do. And I'm not saying that to offend Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar, my friend, is one of the smartest businessmen in this business. He knows exactly what to do and when to do it. Outstanding athlete, good performer. He's hot only because they've made him hot. Only because they've allowed him to destroy their top star. That's what's... And I don't mean John Cena. I don't mean John Cena. I'm saying their top star. And not that John's not a top star. He took out the top star, The Undertaker. That's what makes Brock Lesnar the beast. That's why people hate Brock Lesnar, and Lesnar is so over. You know what? Let's see what happens at Night of Champions. You know, I still think that Cena is not going for the belt. He's going to destroy Brock Lesnar. I think that's the way it's going to work. Whether Cena loses it and knocks him silly and gets disqualified and Lesnar still holds on to the belt, that's a scenario that may work. One way or another, I believe that they're going to be not one, but two beasts in that ring that night. And I don't think it's going to be a pretty battle. I don't think John Cena is going to take 16 suplexes. The internet community is saying he's going to get beat again. He has to get beat again. Otherwise, it's nonsensical. I disagree with that completely. I disagree with that completely. I think you can still have a disqualification situation with an imminent snap A little bit of a tweak in the character there, because it's a side that nobody's ever seen before, and Lesnar still maintains. And then where you go from there, that's up to you. I think there's a whole storyline there in another direction. But then that's up to Vince McMahon, who again is one of the greatest geniuses in the country and the world for professional wrestling, and the writers backstage.
Well, we mentioned Alberto Del Rio. Him being able to compete in Mexico now. He was at the Triple Mania event for AAA. And also a video appearance by Rey Mysterio on that same event. Certainly positions AAA to make an impact here in the United States with Del Rio, Mysterio possibly joining the company, and Mystico, who was the original Sin Cara there, which was a household name in Mexico before he went to the U.S.
So you have Rodriguez,
that's three
Del Rio,
strong
Sin Cara.
names, yeah.
Yep. I think that they're in the right place at the right time. They're in a profession. I think Sin Cara had a difficult time adapting to the American style of wrestling. I really do. I think Rodriguez was an outstanding talent for what he did. They never really gave him the chance to prove that he could wrestle.
No, by Rodriguez, you mean Ricardo?
Ricardo Rodriguez.
Because that's Alberto Del Rio's real last name.
Yeah, right. But I'm talking about his henchman there.
Okay.
So they never gave him a chance to prove that he could wrestle. He did what he did and did an outstanding job with it. As soon as he went from there to the Spanish announcers table, it was over.
Yeah.
It was over. Yeah. And I feel bad about that, because there's a character that could have been used in many, many different scenarios. Then you have Rey Mysterio. Rey is tired. Rey's not fully healed. Rey feels that he wants out of his contract. WWE wants to keep him in his contract. I'm not in that business side of it, so I don't know why they would do that when you have a disgruntled employee like that. Excuse me, I think Del Rio has set a precedence by the legal decision that's been made. Let's see where it goes from there. It seems each case is handled differently. But I think these three guys are in a place where they want to be now. No more 28,000 people. I just saw a photo online of Del Rio. It looked like they were in a bingo hall doing a match. But you know what? It isn't necessarily the size that counts. It's the enthusiasm that counts. I've been in front of 50 people, 20 people, where the enthusiasm and the crowd is so great, it's greater than being in front of, I've been in front of 1,500 to 2,000, and when I did Raw, 27,000.
A lot more than that.
Yeah. So I think they're in the right place. I really think they're going to be fine.
What about latest on Jake the Snake Roberts?
It's a very unfortunate set of circumstances. I think that I'm more concerned about the mass in the head right now.
For those that didn't know, Jake the Snake Roberts passed out on a plane headed to Las Vegas for an appearance, and what would come to mind first but a relapse with his issues that are well documented, but no, it had nothing to do with that. He had a double pneumonia and was hospitalized, and they found a mass in his head.
I can tell you from having met Jake after the DDP Yoga situation, and at WrestleMania 31 backstage and seeing Jake's speech, Jake is a changed person. There's something that's changed inside the man to make him a different person, to understand what life really is all about. I'm more concerned the pneumonia situation. They just did that lung operation where they put the tubes in and suck out all the phlegm. That doesn't seem to concern me as much as the mass in his head. That concerns me more. If that is a blood clot, if that's a tumor, inoperable tumor, that could be a very, very serious situation for Jake Roberts. That could have caused the blackout. So now we just sit back and wait and see, because I know that they're intending to do more tests on the head.
Well, Jake the Snake Roberts, not one of my favorites due to some business deals here in the MWF, but we certainly don't want to see someone suffer in that way. So our best to Jake Roberts. Finally, before we wrap up, I know we have a lot of content to produce today, Johnny. Market Basket. RDT has regained control. Are you a happy man now?
Let's put it this way.
You challenged the DeMoulises to come on this program.
I challenged the DeMoulises to come on to this show. and I have to straighten out one thing. I got to say this on camera and I probably have to tweet it. Everybody thinks I own this federation. Understand.
You were president.
Thank you. I need that cleared up. There's Dan Marotti, there's John Cena, and then there are the owners. So we just work. That's what we are, workers. So having that cleared up, every time I go somewhere, I get...
I wish I owned a piece of it.
You and me both.
They took it all away.
You and me both.
Well, you sold your shares. You were the smart one.
I get people go, when are you going to have another wrestling show? Some of those raffles are really cool. Where did you get all that stuff? Time out. But anyway, RDT and RDS. I made a prediction. The prediction was pretty close because if they didn't do what they did, they were close to 700, 800 million in the hole, which is very close to that $1 billion mark. I was really appalled at the fact that Arthur S. could care less what was going on. He was in Greece on his honeymoon. The board of directors blew off the meetings one at a time, and I said, you know what? This is going to be like the old 1-2 punch of the swerve in professional wrestling. They're going to come out with a deal when nobody really expects it. They did it. RDT offered $1.5, $1.6 billion for a company that, in my opinion, may or may not be salvageable.
Well, they seem to be back in business right now. Pretty hot.
Well, I don't know about hot. I was up in Seabrook yesterday buying a new snowblower. I decided to drive by the Seabrook Market Basket, and I can tell you this, there ain't as many cars there as there used to be. The parking lot is not full. I think what you're dealing with here is people have found other places to shop. They're saying, okay, some will come back. Some will not come back. You can't regain everything you've lost. So I'm going to be very interested in following this to see what RDT and his team does to revitalize this company. Because I said it before and I'll say it again. When you sustain these types of losses, you either have to cut, close stores, or increase your prices. Let's see what happens here, because this, or, I don't know, Market Basket isn't public, is it?
No.
Is your other alternative. But let's see what happens here. RDT's the man to run it. RDT's the individual to be in charge of it. I certainly, my hat's still off to those 20,000 employees.
A lot of respect for them.
And I said to somebody who was complaining about the cost of beef and the cost of gas, I said, you know what bothers me? You see what 20,000 people did to a multi-billion-dollar company, and the American people, the greatest country in the world, and I mean that, can't band together to boycott gas or boycott beef. We have the ability. We just need the guts. Even with foreign nations, the same thing. But anyway, let's see where it goes from there. I don't know where your money lies. I think it's going to be a tough road back. I don't think it's going to be as quick as most people think. I don't think all these customers that left Market Basket are going to come back to Market Basket. I think that Shaw's and Hannaford really missed the boat by not dropping their prices. If I were in charge, I would have dropped my prices 3%, and I would have matched the 4% off your grocery bills in December.
Would you still have Arthur S. in the studio to tell his side of the story?
I have nothing against Arthur S. I have nothing against...
Well, that's why you're the man for this interview. You have no personal vendetta.
I don't dislike one or the other. I think that it's always good to get somebody's side of the story. I think the news media is doing a great job at trying to do that. Whether I would like Arthur S. in this studio or not, sure, why not? But I'd only have that happen if Arthur T. were present.
That'd be a great debate. But, Johnny, we're running out of time here again. WrestleThon, it kicks off. WWE will be live at the TD Garden Sunday, September the 14th, 5 p.m. WrestleThon kicks off on BostonWrestling.com, and it'll go all the way until the next Sunday, September 21st, after the WWE Night of Champions on the WWE Network. You've told me before we went on the air you have a big surprise for the month of October, but you're not going to tell me what it is. You're going to wait until WrestleThon.
No leaks, no talks. Surprises have to be surprises.
Hints.
It's a surprise.
Oh, that's not much of a... That's a different story for a different time. Wrestling fans, we're out of time in this installment of the Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Marotti. For my good friend, Mr. Cena. We'll see you next time. Be well.